guys look familiar? They're in locker room right now.
Okay, good morning. Welcome to the NCAA Division I Men's Basketball Championship, East Regional here in Washington, D.C. A couple of reminders for our press conference sessions this morning and this afternoon. There is no flash photography in this area. There is also no video recording of any kind from this area. We're going to ask you to please silence your cell phones. At this time, I'm going to also describe the satellite coordinates for these press conference sessions. Satellite Galaxy 17, 4, K as in kangaroo, slot C as in Charlie, and the downlink is 117.84.5. We're now joined up on the dais by LSU interim head coach Tony Benford. If you can give an opening statement, and we'll open up for a Q&A. We'll also have a couple wireless microphones out there, so please, when you want to ask a question, identify yourself, raise your hand, identify yourself and your affiliation, and we'll wait for the microphone, the wireless mic, to be brought to you. Coach?
Okay, yeah. First of all, we're excited to obviously be in the Sweet 16. This is our guys have worked hard all year to put ourselves in this position. I'm really pleased with the leadership that we've gotten all year from Skylar Mays and Tremont Waters, and those guys have kind of set the example through a lot of the adversity that these guys have gone through all year. So we're excited. We're looking forward to playing a great Michigan State team led by a Hall of Fame coach and Coach Izzo, and we're looking forward to the challenge.
All right, Monica, we'll start right down there.
Jeff Zilgate, USA Today. Tony, you had mentioned it a little bit last week, but how has your previous head coaching experience helped the past 3 weeks, in what ways? And then when you also mentioned that the team had taken ownership, how have they taken ownership?
Well, it's for his previous head coaching experience, that obviously helps. You know, when you've been a head coach, it's kind of tough in an adverse situation like this, but as far as managing a team and managing practices and coaches and players, I've been in that position and making in-game decisions. So that previous experience has helped in that. And then I think when you have quality players like Tremont and Skylar and Ncaa Reed, those guys have taken ownership. They've helped, like I mentioned before, they've helped keep one another accountable too. You know, and then on the floor during the end game, like, you got a guy like Tremont and Sky again. Those guys are really good. They're like coaches out on the floor, and they help myself and other coaches for his in-game stuff, making adjustments and everything.
We'll go right down here in row 2.
Scott Rabelais with the Baton Rouge Advocate. Tony, when you looked at y'all's team before the season, you thought this is a team that could get to this point, but obviously y'all have had so much adversity with Wade and now with Coach Sims. What qualities do you think have aside from talent, have helped you guys to fulfill your potential to this point?
Well, that's a good question. You can have good players, but there got to be at some point. There's got to be a buy-in factor, I think. You know, and I think one thing about these guys, we got good character guys. Okay, they trust one another, they love one another, they respect one another. I think that helps. And we felt like we had a chance to have a good team. We wanted, obviously, one of our goals was to have a solid. We had a challenging non-conference schedule. We thought that would prepare us for conference. Then once we got the conference, we thought we would have an opportunity to compete for a championship. And we got off to a great start. And I thought our guys really probably went some of those overtime games, close games that we went through. They really bought into what we were teaching them in practice. You know, for instance, we work on a 6-minute game when we get down and the close games, what we got to do to finish games. And I thought those guys really bought in and into execution, and then defensively they bought in. I thought, we got to get stops and then rebound the basketball. But I think just the guys, the buy-in factor has been huge for our guys and for our coaches.
I'll go right down here.
Zach Braziller, New York Post. Coach, what's your favorite quality about Tremont, and what do you expect out of him facing a player like Cassius Winston tomorrow night?
That's a great. I think he's very competitive. I mean, Tremont is a gamer. I think the higher, the bigger the stage, I think you see him take his game to another level. And I think that's one of the things. And he's become a great leader. I mean, he's more vocal than he was last year. I thought when he might tell you this, when he put his name in the draft and went through some of the workouts, pro workouts, I thought that was good for him. You know, we had a chance to get a lot of feedback from the NBA guys on things that he had to work on. And I thought, one of them was defensively, he had to become a better defender. And he's proven that by being, co-defensive player of the year in our league. And then being more vocal, more of a leader. And he's become more of a leader for us and kind of an extension of our coaching staff on the floor. So those are some great qualities to have as a point guard.
you talked about how the bigger the level, the higher, the bigger the game, the better he is. What do you expect out of him tomorrow night against a player like Winston, arguably the best point guard in the country?
Yeah, Trey's pretty good too, but I think he'll look forward to the challenge. But it's just not gonna be Tremont. We'll have different guys on Cassius, who is a tremendous player, but we'll have different guys that guard him.
You can go over there on the right.
Jacques Duce, WAFB TV in Baton Rouge. Coach, how would you describe Michigan State's big men, and how did playing Maryland and those guys maybe get you ready, and how did they compare maybe?
Physical, defensive linemen, they're pretty physical. They're good players. You start with Tillman, who's playing really well. He's, he does a great job getting great position down there. Then they bring in Nick. Nick has had an injury, but he's really physical, strong, and those two guys right there they get position on you, it's over. So we got to do our work early in the post, and we got to get great help from our other guys. And then Gomes is tough. Gomes is a tough matchup. Michigan State reminds me a lot of Tennessee in our league, for the balance that they have offensively and defensively. And I think a guy like Gomes is a little bit like a Schofield pick and pop guy. So their bigs, they present a problem.
Right down on our right here.
Stephen Wino, Associated Press. Tony, back to Tremont. This is a school in Georgetown where Tremont originally committed to. How fortunate do you feel as a program that he chose to go to LSU instead, and kind of how important is he to getting as far as you guys have gotten on this journey?
Well, there's no doubt. We feel very fortunate to have him. And Trey is, like I say, he's an extension of our coaching staff out there. He's a great leader for our players. I tell you, I didn't bring this up, but I thought he did a great job in the summer with his workouts and in the weight room. He's changed his body since he's been with us too, and he'll tell you that he's really just, I think, on and off the floor, he's really matured a lot.
We're going to stay right back there on the right-hand side.
Yeah, Coach Michael Cobble from WBRZ in Baton Rouge. How much influence, I know you guys talk with Will Wade a lot, how much has he given you guys versus how much do you feel like you've kind of taken control of this and are running it yourself?
Well, we've like I said, Coach texts with the players and he texts with our coaching staff and stuff. But he's not here, so we've had to take ownership. We're Coach Hire, myself, and Coach Armstrong. We got to implement the game plan, and we're doing the game plan. So, and that's what we got to continue to do. All we're trying to do is give our guys the best chance to win. And so, like I say, nothing's changed as far as our routine. Coach Hire has this scout. And he's done a great job preparing our guys for this Michigan State, for the Michigan State game, and our guys will be prepared.
Stay right down here in the middle.
Glenn Gilbo, USA Today Network, Louisiana. Coach, regardless of like how you got here, are you having the time of your life in your coaching career?
Well, that's a good question. I've told our guys, have fun. All adversity we've been through, enjoy the process. I mean, this is rare. You get to a Sweet 16, you can go your whole career, and a lot of coaches coach and never get to it. A lot of players play and obviously never get to it. So I told them just to enjoy the moment. Try to, we're just going to try to prepare and get better every day, and when game time shows, we'll be ready to compete.
What about you personally?
No, I'm enjoying it. Yeah, I'm enjoying the opportunity to have this opportunity. But my focus is on the kids. That's where it's got to be. And I'm not. Of course, my experience, I'm enjoying, but I'm gonna make sure these guys are prepared.
And all the way in the back there.
Melinda Adams, ESPN. Coach, if you could just describe how you're using the adversity, you and the players, to as motivation. Well,
good question. Obviously, guys, when you lose a teammate like these guys, a brother in Wade. These guys grew up with him, and Skylar is like a brother. They grew up together. That's something that you don't want anybody to go through. And these guys have dedicated the season to Wade. Everything they do is about 44. For instance, the other night we were playing Maryland. It was 44 on the scoreboard, and Trey just stopped the huddle. Said, "Coach, look what's on the scoreboard, guys." And we went out and the guys got more focused. So we just did it. It's been about Wade this entire year, and it will be. I told these guys, it's the rest of their life. These guys will never forget Wade Sims.
Yep.
Chase Michelson, State News. When you look at a team like Michigan State and they defend really well from the inside the three-point line, and then your team has struggled from outside the three-point line without revealing the game plan, sort of what is that challenge like when you're facing a team that maybe their strengths match up with your weaknesses like that?
Well, one of the things with them, obviously they're, a standing coach and Coach Izzo, but they're one of the best teams in the country in transition. They get 30% of their points in transition, okay? So we got to do a great job with our defense, okay, of protecting the paint, getting back and protecting the paint. Then conversely, and then rebounding the ball, okay, once we get a stop. And then conversely, we have to push the ball. We got to try to get easy baskets. We're really good. We got guards that can make plays. We're good in transition. We got big guys that can score inside. So, it's going to be a game of wheels. We got to make sure we have good execution in the half court. We can't turn the ball over. A lot of ball turnovers, they feed off of it. And then we're pretty good on the offensive glass, so we got to do a great job of going to the glass like we've been doing all season.
Sheldon Mickles, Baton Rouge Advocate. Tony, you talk about Tremont being an extension of the coaching staff on the court. What goes into that? What do you allow him to do? How long is the leash? Let's put that way.
It's pretty long. No, it's pretty long. But one of the things I think is this: he has on the bench sometime when he's on the floor, he's communicating with Coach Howard, Coach Armstrong, sometimes myself. Like for instance, Coach Armstrong will call our defenses out. And so he's got to have constant contact with Coach Armstrong about, okay, what are we in? Are we picking up full court, we'll call our fists, or we're in, if we go, 1-3-1, which we call one. So he's getting the defensive calls from Coach all the time. And then for his plays, we want to obviously push it. We give him freedom to push it in transition. But if it's not there, we want to pull it out and execute it and run a play, a set play. So he does a good job of, I may communicate that to him, but he has the option of calling that out on his own.
Tony, I understand you're not much of a sleeper. How you sleeping these days?
Not much sleep. It's time to sleep after this, so we want to keep this thing going. I don't need much sleep, right? Want to keep this thing going.
We're going to our far right, Coach.
Paul Woody, Richmond Times-Dispatch here in Virginia. Coach, a lot of teams, if they lost a player the way you lost a player right before the season began, the season would have been over right then. Why wasn't your season over? What enabled your guys to keep going?
That's a really good question. I think Wade, and these guys will tell you when they come up here, Wade really set the tone with our guys, along with Skylar, and I thought Cavell Bisley and Trey with these new guys that we had. We had a lot of talent coming in. But when we started in June in the weight room, in our individual workouts, in our conditioning through boot camp, Wade was at the front. He was leading these guys. When some of these young guys like Emmett Williams or Ncaa, they would struggle getting through workouts, he would lead those guys, especially the big guys. And so Wade set the tone early for our guys, and our guys kind of fed off of that, and they've kind of taken that. And like I say, he was a brother to these guys, and they really dedicated the season to him.
Any other questions for Coach Benford? We'll take one right here in the middle. Might have time for one or two more.
Coach, LSU played Michigan State in 1979. I was wondering, you were a kid then. Did you watch the Michigan State Indiana State game, the championship game that year?
Yeah, I did. Watching Bird and Magic and those guys. Yeah, pretty good players.
Well, but was that? What else do you remember about that tournament on television?
I think that's the one that got everything going. What the tournament is today. When you look back on that, those guys obviously went on and they took the pro game to another level. And I thought those two guys are really the ones that kind of set the tone on what you see today in the NBA.
What do you remember about when you were playing at Texas Tech? What are your greatest memories of playing?
I remember my
tournament.
My tournament. We played my senior year. We played Georgetown after they won the national championship. They had some really good players: David Wingate, Reggie Williams, Michael Jackson, Ralph Dalton. I remember all those guys. We played them in Dayton, and we played pretty well. And then they ended up beating us, I think, about 3 points in Dayton. So I remember Coach Thompson. They were a really good group.
We got time for one more from Pete.
Tony, Pete Thamel, wondering how much you know about Shannon Foreman. He's a guy in Baton Rouge who's been a mentor in Javante's life. How much is he around your program? What do you know about him mentoring kids in the area?
No, I've met Shannon, and he's been, I don't know for his mentoring kids. I know he's got a relationship with Javante. That's all I know.
All right, Coach, you're all set.
All right,
Good
thank
luck.
you, guys.
We're
Thanks.
going to be joined by the LSU student athletes here in about 2 minutes. Okay, we're now joined by the LSU student athletes, Naz Reid, Skylar Mays, and Tremont Waters, and we're going to open it up for Q&A right away. So please raise your hand, state your name and your affiliation, and we'll begin.
Chase Michelson, State News. Ncaa, when you go up against a point guard like Cassius Winston, obviously that's kind of the marquee matchup here. What do you see out of him, and what do you think you can attack well?
Obviously, he's a great all-around player offensively and defensively. But watching film, I just see that he's really good in transition. He controls the offense. He runs the team, and everything pretty much runs through him.
We'll go in the back there.
Adams, ESPN. Skylar, this is for you. If you can just kind of talk, or the other players as well, just how y'all have used the adversity as a motivating factor to get to this point.
Yeah, it started with Wade in September, him passing away, and we've definitely used it as a driving force in what we've been able to do this season, and we give a lot of the credit in the wins that we've had to him, and obviously with what happened with Coach Wade, we just see it as an opportunity to prove ourselves when chips are down. So I think we've done a tremendous job of that, and it's going to continue to drive us as we move forward.
Guys will go over here on our left.
Bob Winowski, Detroit News. For Tremont, follow up on Cassius Winston, and I think your coach referred to him, he reminded him of Kemba Walker. Do you take a matchup like this personally, and do you feel like you have some attributes, quickness and stuff like that you can use on him?
I would say I take every game personal. It's a team sport, obviously, and I don't necessarily get into the matchups and everything that goes into that. That's for everyone else to pretty much evaluate. I go in knowing that I have to run my team. It's about myself and my teammates and the coaching staff. So, like he said, I heard Coach Benford. He said he's a great point guard. He controls the offense and everything. But my job is to go out and run my team and just pretty much do what I have to do to help us win. So that's really it.
We're going to stay in the back, guys, on our right-hand side.
Tim Lee from Tansen. So you guys huddled together when the score reached 244, and all of you have a huge performance in the late game. So what was the emotion like at that moment? Can you share with us?
Naz, you want to take that?
We've been through like adversity moments before. I mean, for the score to be 44, I mean, it was actually something Tremont pointed out, and it was actually something that we all, realized that, it was time to go out and play our game and, do the best that we can. And everything was for him and Coach Wade. I mean, they obviously both play a big part in what we do. I mean, without them, we like Scott said, we wouldn't be here before. I mean, we wouldn't be here right now. And just getting through moments like that, helps the team a lot.
Other questions for the LSU student athletes? We'll go right down here in row 2. A couple right here, down here in row 2.
Tremont, Sheldon Mickles, Baton Rouge Advocate. Coach Benford just talked about you as a extension of the coaching staff. How do you take that? When they talk about that, and how much freedom have you gotten this year? Maybe not necessarily just recently.
I would say I was sitting behind the curtains when he was talking, so I would say my leash is pretty long. They allowed me to play my game, obviously, run the team, and they trust me with the ball in late game situations, and they trust that I'm going to make the right reads for my teammates as well. So just knowing that I have my teammates, they have confidence in me, and my coaches have a ton of confidence in me. It makes me play a lot more relaxed, if that makes sense, because I'm able to just play off instinct, make reads, and pretty much run the show. So it's a very free-flowing offense, if I would say that, yeah.
Tremont, Ben Standig, NBC Sports Washington. We know you were originally going to come to Georgetown, so you would have been in this building before. Just curious, what ultimately led you to sort of make the decision to go to LSU? And as you sit here in the NCAA tournament, how do you kind of look back at that decision and your journey to get here?
Yeah, I was committed to Georgetown, like you just said, and the coaching staff was on edge about being fired or whatever, and they pretty much talked about that all season. So my parents and I, we kept noticing that they were talking about that, and then he actually got fired. So I just reopened my recruitment, and Coach Wade stepped into the picture, and it fit.
Skylar, I know you get a little freedom too, probably, but is your leash a little bit shorter? And how does Tremont do as a coach on the court?
I think my leash is pretty long as well. Probably not as long as Tremont's, but as far as Tremont's game, Tremont runs the show for us. He's done a tremendous job all season, and he's just what makes us go on the offensive and defensive end. So we've got his backs with pretty much everything he does, and every shot he takes, we think he's going to make, and we think he's going to make the right play all the time. So. We just go as he goes, and it's been working for us.
This is kind of just a general question for really all of you. Like, what do you see on film out of Michigan State that you think, wow, this is really a strength for them, and what do you see that you think, like, we can attack this and help us win?
Naz, you want to start with that one?
They're a team that can go. They play quick. They play fast, kind of like us. The bigs are tough, physical. The guards, they get in the lane, they can score the ball, shoot the ball. They can do a lot of things that we can do. They're a great team, They're one of the best teams in the country, I would say, and, we're just looking to go after them.
Skylar, you have anything to add about the Michigan State scouting report?
Yeah, the coaches have stressed transition a lot. They play really fast, so a big key for us is going to be getting back in transition defense, and hopefully we can just try to make things tough on their guards and see what happens.
Guys, we're going to go over here to our left-hand side.
It's for all you guys, whoever wants to answer it. Michigan State's obviously a little thin right now, rotation-wise, about 6 deep. What type of things do you do to attack a team that's thin, whether it's getting out and running to try and wear them down or trying to get them in foul trouble?
Well, this is pretty much out to the public because this is media, so we don't want to give our game schemes out. But as a team, we just continue to do what we do, push the ball and play our game. We play in transition. We like to play free-flowing and pretty much play inside out.
Based on the film, they're going to play hard regardless. Those guys go out there and play as if they've got somebody who's going to give them some rest time. So, they play really fast, and I don't think how much depth per se they have is going to affect how fast they play and how hard they play. So we can't look at them having 6 guys playing as an advantage, and they're going to give us they're going to give us challenges in some areas, and we're going to try to do the same to them.
Right down here in the front.
Scott Rapperley with the Baton Rouge Advocate. Skylar, obviously, it's well documented your season has been bookended by these 2 huge issues. What qualities about your team, and a lot of these guys you didn't know before the last year or so, has allowed you all to live up to your potential to this point?
You're talking about the issues as far as...
How have y'all gotten past all that to be the team that has gotten to this point to win the SEC, that sort of thing?
Me personally, I haven't gotten past what happened to Wade. I'll never get past what happened to Wade. I'm pretty sure I could say the same for all of these guys. With Coach Wade, with what happened with Coach Wade, we're just going to have to move forward. That's something that none of us can control. And, we're out here to play basketball for the university. So at the end of the day, the ball isn't going to stop bouncing for us, whether he's on the court, whether he's on the sideline or not. So we've used it to come together, and we're here.
Stay right down here in the front with Ben.
Ben Standig, NBC Sports Washington. Naz, for you, having just kind of seen you mostly the last couple games, you've got sort of this old school center game. How do you, I guess, is that a fair way to assess your game? And how do you kind of feel you fit in with sort of this modern game where it's, shooting 3-pointers, spreading the court, things like that?
I guess that's a way to put it. I kind of just work on my game as it is, like handling the ball and post moves, hook shots, shooting threes. It's just something I work on. So it's kind of something that comes in, all related to the modern game because, I mean, a lot of bigs nowadays handle the ball, shoot the ball, and pretty much do guard play. I mean, it isn't easy. So I mean, for you to be able to do it at the size and the weight and things of that nature, people are surprised. But when you work on it consistently, I mean, it comes to you.
Any other questions for the LSU student athletes? We got one more. I think we got time for one more in the back.
Will Shanahan, the Georgetown Voice. Naz, you guys played a couple of formidable bigs in Fernando and Smith from Maryland last week, but now you've had a longer layover before some other interesting front court matchups this week. How do you and Cavell kind of approach kind of playing down low? Would you guys say it's mostly a matter of game plan implementation or just going out there and seeing what happens?
I mean, game plan, of course, and then just playing tough. Those two bigs. I mean, they're really tough. They're strong. I mean, they're physical. I mean, they really get after it. So just playing tough, physical basketball, and just like I said before, doing what we do. I mean, they're gonna get buckets, and they're gonna do what they do. So I mean, it's gonna be all within the game.
All right, guys, you guys are all set. Good luck.
Thank you.
We will have the Michigan State student athletes on the dais at 10 after 12. Michigan State student athletes at 12:10, followed by Michigan State head coach Tom Izzo, starting at 12:25.